This tutorial is for clue 7 of the Brilliance pattern, which is the Expression Fiber Arts Mystery Knit Along pattern for 2024. In this video, I'm going to be working all the right side pattern rows, that is the odd numbered pattern rows, for clue 7, including the setup row, which is not a right side row. So the wrong side setup row, and then each of the right side rows, as those are the only rows that involve actual patterning. Before I begin the clue 7 specific tutorial, I'm actually going to go over how to work the left twist and right twist cable stitches multiple ways. So I'll show how to work them with a cable needle, how to work them without the cable needle as it's been written in the Brilliance pattern, and then I'm actually going to show a third way to work those cable stitches without a cable needle. And so that I don't get too far off the track of what is specific to clue 7, there's linked in the pattern description below, along with timestamps to every single pattern row, so that you can just jump to the part of the video that you want to watch. There's another video linked down there that goes into more details on working cable stitches without a cable needle. That's not the way that's written in the Brilliance pattern. It's a second way to work them that I'm going to demonstrate at the beginning of the video, but then I'm going to go into more detail in the other videos. So if you want more information on working cable stitches without a cable needle, you can click on that video and watch that. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's work on some cable stitches. I have a swatch here that I made up. It is completely unrelated to the Brilliance pattern, only in that I guess it's related in that it actually has the same cable stitches that we're going to be doing in clue 7, but that's basically it all is. I have a set of left-leaning cables here, and then a set of right-leaning cables here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to work the cables across using a variety of methods. So I'm going to start by doing the stitches with a cable needle, then I'll do the stitches without the cable needle the way that it's written in the Brilliance pattern, and then I'm going to show you a second way to work the stitches without a cable needle. I didn't include it in the pattern because it is a little bit more advanced. And as I said in the introduction, I'm actually going to go into greater depth as to how and why you can use the second way of working the stitches without a cable needle in a different video that I've linked below. That just might come in handy for you in the future. So the reason I wanted to demonstrate it here is because it is useful for other types of cables. So I wanted you to be aware of it and maybe even practice it a little bit so that you know how to use it for projects down the road. So let's get started. So the first side that I'm going to be working on has the left twist stitches. So I did want to show you, let's get my prop here. So the left twist, sorry, my cord's getting in the way. The left twist is abbreviated LT, or it can be also, you can see in knitting patterns, sometimes it's a 1/1 left cable or left cross. The charted symbol tends to look like this, but again, because knitting abbreviations and chart symbols are not standardized across all knitting patterns, you're going to see a variety of ways. So this is basically, it's a 2-stitch cable. We're taking the stitch that's closest to the end of the needle, and we're moving it across the front 1 stitch to the left. So it's going to cross in front of the second stitch, and the second stitch is going to move across and become the first stitch that you work. So to do this with a cable needle, let's see, my cord is just not cooperating today. Hang on. Okay, so this is the cable needle that I use. Cable needles come in a variety of shapes and sizes. This one I have never found all by itself. So when I got it and when I've tried to replace it, I've only found it in a 3-pack that comes with these 3 in the set. So the silver one and the blue one are about the same diameter. I think this one is maybe a size. So this is like a US, I think it's a 3. This might be a 4. And then you can see the pink one's quite a bit larger. And so I choose this one. I have tried a variety of cable needles. I do tend to like this one the best because when you have your cable when you have the stitches that you're moving on it, they kind of sit in this crook at the end, and then it'll hang with the pointy sides just away from you. Whereas when you're using this, the stitch is going to hang out up here, and then it's going to kind of sit at an angle on your work, and I find that it runs into my right hand pretty substantially. A cable needle like this also does hang out of the way, but because it's so thick, I wouldn't use it for a project like this because the diameter of the cable needle is thicker than my stitches, or the needle that I'm using to make my stitches. And what that's going to do is when I move them onto the cable needle, it's going to stretch the stitches out, and then it's going to change the tension of my cable. So you do want to be careful that you're using a cable needle that is at least either the size that you're working with, or ideally a couple sizes smaller, just because when you're moving stitches around, it does tighten them down, and you don't want to artificially change that with the size of your cable needle. So you can also use something like a double pointed needle, a DPN, to work your cable stitches. The virtue of a cable needle is it always going to have a little dip somewhere that holds your stitches, and gravity's going to kind of do the rest to hold them on there. With a straight needle like a DPN, you're going to have to kind of hang on to it when your stitches are either in the front or in the back, just to make sure that it doesn't slip out. So something to be aware of. So all that said, let's work a couple of left. Wow, sorry, hang on. I rearranged my cable, and now my yarn is coming from the wrong side of my needle. All right. Let's work a left twist a couple of times. Again, this is left twist. So we're moving this stitch that's in the closest to the front of the needle is going to come one stitch over to the left, and the stitch that is to the left of it is going to move to the right. So actually, let me work until I'm to my cable stitch here. And then to work the left twist with a cable needle, you're simply going to take the first stitch off of the left needle onto the cable needle, hold it to the front of the work the second stitch, or the next stitch that is on the left needle, and then you're going to bring your stitch that's on the cable needle back, and you can either work it from the cable needle if you want to, you can do that, or you can put it back on your left needle, which is what I prefer to do. So then you put that back, or you work directly from the cable needle and just knit that stitch that you had hanging out to the front. So that's just the left twist with a cable needle. So I'll show you that one more time. Take the first stitch off of the left needle onto the cable needle, bring that to the front of your work, knit the next stitch, bring that stitch back, and either from the cable needle or put it back on your left needle, knit that. So that is working the left twist with a cable needle. It's pretty straightforward. And then to work the left twist without a cable needle as written in the pattern, let me get over to my next stitch here. Okay. So the way that I wrote it in the pattern is basically works for this type, where you have one stitch crossing in front of another stitch, either to the right or the left. So to work this left twist without the cable needle, the way that it's written in the Brilliance pattern, you're going to bring your right needle behind that first stitch, and you're going to come between the first and second stitch from back to front with your needle. And then you're going to rotate the tip of your needle around so it's going knitwise into that second stitch. All right, so I'm going to zoom in and show you that a little bit closer up so you can really see what I'm doing. Sorry for the bouncing. My camera mount has decided it does not want to stay steady very easily, so if it bounces around, I'm really sorry. I need to get a new camera mount. Okay, so we want this stitch to cross in front, which means we need to go behind it with our right needle. So we're going to come from behind, go behind that first stitch, and we're going to go from back to front between the first and second stitch. We're going to rotate the tip of the needle around so it's going knitwise into the second stitch. And then we're going to knit that second stitch. So I like to pull that loop underneath that first stitch. So I'm making sure I'm not snagging anything. Get that loop all the way up on the shaft of your needle. And then you're going to go knitwise into your first stitch and knit that, and then bring both stitches off of the left needle. So it is working the left twist without a cable needle. I'll show you that one more time. I'm going to zoom out just a tad so you can see it from a little further away. All right, so that again, I'm going to bring the tip of my right needle behind the first stitch and between the first and second stitches from back to front. Rotate it around so it's going knitwise into the second stitch. Knit that stitch. Make sure that loop is all the way up on the shaft of the needle, and you may need to use your fingers to kind of pry those two stitches apart because knitting that second stitch will pull them together. Go knitwise into the first stitch, knit that, and then bring both of those stitches off of the left needle. So that is the way you work the left twist. Whoops, came out of the frame. That's where you work the left twist without a cable needle, the way that it's written in the Brilliance pattern. So there is a third way to do this left twist stitch, and the reason I wanted to show you this is because working cables this way that I'm about to show you can be useful for more than just this stitch. It can actually be used for bigger basic cables. So that caveat in there. Again, the video that goes into more detail on this is linked in the video description below. So what this other technique does is basically it reorders the stitches before you work them. So rather than working them out of order, we're actually going to change the order of the stitches on the left needle and then just work them. So to work the left twist this third way, basically, or the second way without a cable needle, you want to bring your right needle across the back. So again, remember this first stitch is what's traveling to the left, so it needs to be in the front. You're going to bring your right needle across the back behind that first stitch and go purlwise into the second stitch. Then you want to grab that first stitch at the base and just kind of pinch it and pull your left needle out of both stitches. Then come purlwise back into that first stitch across the front. And you're going to bring that stitch on your right needle around, put it on the tip of your left needle, and then you can just knit the stitches in that new order. So basically you're changing the order of the stitches before you're working them, which is what you do with a cable needle. The virtue of this is that you don't have to hunt down your cable needle every single time that you want to make a stitch, which is what I end up having to do. I'm constantly losing my cable needle, so this is helpful for me. So let me show you that one more time. You're going to bring your right needle behind the first stitch across the back, and you're going to go purlwise into the back of the second stitch. You're going to grasp the first stitch at the base and pinch it, and then pull your left needle out of both stitches. Bring your left needle across the front, in front of the stitch that you have on your right needle, and back purlwise into that first stitch. And then bring the stitch on your right needle around, put it on the front of your left needle, and then you can work each stitch in the order that it appears. So that is doing the left twist, or a 1/1 left cable, or 1/1 left cross stitch without a cable needle. So let me work my way over here to my right twist stitches. All right. So we're going to do a right twist. So in the Brilliance pattern, it's written RT for right twist. You also see this same stitch can be written as a 1/1 right cable or 1/1 right cross. And the charted symbol for that can look like this. Like I said, it can look different too, but so this is what we're doing now. Let me zoom all the way back out here. And we're going to start by working this stitch with our cable needle. So in a right twist, your second stitch is going to travel across the front to the right, which means this first stitch has to travel across the back to the left, because we want this stitch to come across the front. This second stitch is what we want to come across the front. So to work the right twist with a cable needle, we're going to take this first stitch off of the left needle onto a cable needle, and it's going to be held to the back of the work. So I can just let it hang there, back there, and then we're going to knit the second stitch, and then we're going to knit the stitch that was on the cable needle. And so when you can again work it from the cable needle, or you can put it back on your left needle, which is what I prefer to do, and then just knit that. So that stitch again, the right twist, with a cable needle, we're going to take the stitch that's on the left needle, the first stitch, and we're going to take it off onto the cable needle and then hold that to the back of the work. Work the second stitch, and then bring that stitch back and either work it from the cable needle or put it back on the left needle and knit that. So doing that allows that second stitch to travel to the right 1 stitch across the front of the work. So now we're going to do the right twist without a cable needle, the way that it's written in the Brilliance pattern. And to do this, what we need to do is we actually need to knit this second stitch across the front first. So to do that, you got to get your right needle knitwise into the second stitch without splitting the stitch, or catching a part of the stitch that's not what you want to knit into, or catching a part of this first stitch. So you can kind of separate the stitches first and then get your needle in there. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to come purlwise into the front of that second stitch and kind of pull it. And what that's going to do, it's going to tighten this first stitch and it's going to loosen the second stitch, but it'll allow you to kind of lift it up above the work. Well, it didn't that time, so you're going to pinch it, but lift it up so you can get your needle in there. But just the motion of bringing your work around is going to kind of make all these stitches want to close together. So just be aware of that, and then however you need to get your needle in there. So you're going to go knitwise into the second stitch across the front of the work. You're going to knit that second stitch, and then you're going to go knitwise into the first stitch, which you will need to kind of pull these apart again to get into that first stitch. So you're going to knit that, and then bring, again, 2 stitches are coming off the left needle now because you've worked both of them. So let me do that one more time. And I did want to, let's see. So when I work at this time, what I wanted to point out is if you do anything to loosen this stitch to get into it, you want to be really careful that when you go into the stitch and you knit it, you want to make sure that loop that you just knit is all the way up on the shaft of your right needle. And then when you go into the first stitch, you want to get both of your needles so that this stitch is actually around the shaft of both needles, like all the way up on the shaft before you knit it, so that you're evening out the tension of that stitch when you do it. Otherwise, you may end up with a really loose, the stitch that's coming across the front may be really loose and the stitch behind it may be very, very tight, and then you're going to end up with uneven tension in your cable. So just something to be aware of when you're working that. So let's see, I'm going to work that one more time for you. So one more time, that right twist stitch without a cable needle, you're going to go knitwise into the second stitch across the front of the work and knit that. Get that loop all the way up on the shaft of your needle, and then you're going to go knitwise into the first stitch and knit that, and then both stitches come off the left needle. Okay? So that is the right twist without the cable needle, the way that it's written in the Brilliance pattern. So the final way to work the right twist is similar to what we did with the left twist, and that is we're just going to reorder the stitches before we work them. So the difference here is it's advisable, possibly advantageous. So if you think about the way that you're working, whether you're working cables over a cable back or over a, let's see, I didn't say that right. Whether you're working cables over a ribbed background, so you have like knit stitches and then purl stitches next to them. So you're almost always, your cable stitches are going to be knit stitches, and that means they're going to want to curve to the front of the work. So you think about how stockinette likes to roll up when you're working with it, and it's because that's the nature of knit stitches, is they want to roll to the front. So when you're doing a right leaning cable, you actually want to move everything that you're going to move around, you want it to end up on the right needle first. So if I try to do this from my left needle, so I need this second stitch to come across the front of the work, so I could go purlwise into that. But when I pinch at the base and I pull this first stitch off of my left needle, when I bring my needle out of those, that stitch is going to want to roll back behind the work, and it's going to be very hard to get my needle back into it in the right place. So you can see it's actually like coming to the front now. And that's just the nature of those types of stitches. Because they want to roll to the front, it's much easier to do this transition, to change the position of these 2 stitches when you come at it onto the right needle. So instead of instead of bringing my right needle across the front and going into the stitch that's coming across the front, what I want to do is I want to put both stitches on my right needle, and I want to come into the stitch that's going across the back with my left needle. So I'm going to go into that first stitch with my left needle across the back. I'm going to go purlwise into that first stitch, and then I'm just going to pinch down here. And because that stitch wants to come to the front anyway, it's going to be easier for me to pick up with my right needle. So I'm going to go purlwise into that second stitch with my right needle, and I'm going to bring it around and put it on the tip of my left needle. And then again, I can just push them apart and then knit each one in the order that it's now in and make that right twist. So let me show you that one more time. Bring both stitches, the two stitches that you want to trade places, onto your right needle, purlwise. So go purlwise onto the right needle. And then you're going to bring your left needle and go purlwise into the back of the first stitch, because that's the stitch that's coming across the back. Pinch at the base, pull your needle out of both stitches, and then put your right needle into the purlwise into the second stitch. Bring that around and put it on the front of the left needle. And then you can just work them in the order that they appear. So that is the right twist without a cable needle the other way. That's not written in the Brilliance pattern. So as I said, the reason I'm showing you that third way, or the second way without a cable needle to do that, is because it's handy for other than these types of stitches. So these two stitch crosses, where you're just having one stitch come across the other, it actually is, you can work them out of order because you're only working one stitch. When you get into bigger cables where you have maybe 2 crossing over 2 or 3 crossing over 3 or 4 crossing over 4, you can't actually work into all the stitches that you need to before you move them off the needle. And so that second way can be used for larger cables. So that is what I demonstrate in the other video. So again, if you want to see larger cables worked without a cable needle, go click on that video and you can watch that. So this is kind of the end of the cable demonstration. So now we're going to get to the Clue 7 actual tutorial. And I hope that's been helpful. And yeah, let's move on to Clue 7. Okay, so Clue 7 begins on a wrong side row. So obviously on your swatch, if you're just doing the 2-color swatch, you will have already gone back to your dark color, including your edge setup will be ready to go. So for the main projects, you are actually switching from your color E to your color G when you begin Clue 7. So you want to make sure that you follow your instructions for graduating in the edge stitches. So if you're doing the I-cord edge, you're going to turn back and work this final edge in your color G to start. And if you are doing the seed stitch edge, you're just going to purl across all 5 stitches. So you are going to start with your edge stitches, and then to work the setup row of Clue 7, you just work your edge stitches however you're supposed to. And then you're going to work a knit front and back in the first stitch after the marker, and then purl across to 1 stitch before the marker. And when you get there, you're just going to knit that last stitch, slip your edge marker, and then again work your edges. So seed stitch, you're going to purl all 5 of those stitches, and then the I-cord edge, you're just going to work it as normal with the new color. And that is the setup for Clue 7. So Clue 7 consists of 16 rows that are basically the same pattern, just worked. So it's worked, rows 1 through 8 are worked in pattern, but then instead of stacking and working Clues 1 through 8 again, we're working the same pattern, but switched over, it's moved over 4 stitches. And so rows 9 through 16 are the same pattern, just shifted a little bit. So to begin row 1, work your edge stitches. So if you're working the seed stitch edge and you're on row 1 for the first time, you do want to knit that first stitch instead of slipping it. Otherwise, if you're working the I-cord edge, you're just working that as usual. And I'm going to move my stitch markers back to a row 1. And yes, it's linked in the pattern description. And no, I don't get paid for telling you about it. I love it, but I don't represent them or anything. So we begin row 1 with purl 1, and then we do a left twist. So I am doing my twists without a cable needle. So if you want, use your cable needle, you can. So left twist, knit 4, 2, 3, 4, right twist, and then we repeat that. So left twist, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right twist, left twist, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right twist, and then you end the row with a purl 1, slip the stitch marker, and work your edge stitches. Now, because this pattern has basically a rest row on each of the wrong side rows, so for every wrong side row, you're going to turn to the back, work your edge stitches, slip the stitch marker, you're going to do a knit 1, and then purl all the way across until 1 stitch before the marker, knit that last stitch, slip your edge marker, and then work your edges again. So you're just going to do that on every single row. I'm not going to work the wrong side rows on camera just because it's time consuming and it's fairly simple, so you don't need to watch me do it. So row 3, work your edge stitches, slip your stitch marker, purl 1, then our repeated pattern is knit 1, left twist, and again, if you want to work your twist stitches with a cable needle, you can do that. Left twist, making sure that you did, which I did not do, not snag the edge of that yarn. All right, so left twist, knit 2, right twist, knit 1, repeat, knit 1, left twist, knit 2, right twist, knit 1. Oops, hang on, dropped a stitch here. Knit 1, left twist, knit 2, right twist, knit 1, and then when you get to the end of your row, you'll have 1 stitch left, and you purl that last stitch, slip your stitch marker, and work your edge stitches. And I will work across the row 4 here and then meet you at the beginning of row 5. Row 5, work your edge stitches. Slip your stitch marker. Purl the first stitch, and then your repeat for row 5 is knit 2, left twist, right twist, knit 2. Repeat that, knit 2, left twist, right twist, knit 2, repeat, knit 2, left twist, right twist, knit 2, and then you should be at the end of your row where you work a purl 1, slip the stitch marker, work your edge stitches. And I will see you at the beginning of row 7. Okay, row 7, work your edge stitches. Slip your stitch marker, purl the first stitch, and then the row 7 repeat is knit 3, 1, 2, 3, right twist, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, repeat, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, right twist, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, again, knit 3, 2, 3, right twist, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, purl 1, slip your stitch marker, and finish up by working your edge stitches. And I will meet you back at the beginning of row 9. All right, row 9, again, Work your edge stitches. Slip your stitch marker. Purl 1. And then we begin the repeat, which is knit 2, right twist, left twist, knit 2, repeat, knit 2, right twist, left twist, knit 2, again, knit 2, right twist, left twist, knit 2, and that should take you all the way through the end of the row, and your last stitch will be a purl 1, and just slip the stitch marker, work the edge stitches, and I will meet you back at the beginning of row 11. Row 11, work your edge stitches, slip your stitch marker, purl the first stitch, and then the repeat is knit 1, right twist, knit 2, left twist, knit 1, repeat, knit 1, right twist, knit 2, left twist, knit 1, again, knit 1, right twist, knit 2, left twist, knit 1, and then at the end of the row you'll have 1 left, and you purl that stitch, slip your stitch marker, and work your edge stitches. Row 13, work your edge stitches, slip your stitch marker, purl the first stitch, and then the repeat is right twist, knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, left twist, repeat, right twist, knit 4, left twist, repeat, right twist, knit 4, 2, 3, 4, left twist, and then at the end, when you have 1 stitch left, purl that last stitch, slip your stitch marker, work your edge stitches, and I will see you back for row 15. Row 15. So again, work your edge stitches. Slip your stitch marker, purl 1, and then the row 15 we do a knit 1 after the purl 1, and then our repeat is knit 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then work a left twist right after you pick up the stitch that you just dropped. Try that again. Let's see here. Come here, you. All right, left twist. And then we just repeat that. Knit 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, left twist. Repeat, knit 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And because the end of the row is longer, you're actually going to, that last time, you're going to knit 7 and then do a purl 1. Slip your stitch marker, work your edge stitches, and if you're repeating, then you would go ahead and work a row 16 before you go back to row 1 and do that again. Otherwise, you're either ending at the end of row 15, ending clue 1 or clue 7, or you're ending at the end of row 7. So pay attention to where in the pattern you're supposed to end your clue for whichever version you're doing. But that is the basics of clue 7. It's pretty simple. You're just working the left twist and right twist in different locations all the way through the pattern. And other than that, just knitting and purling. So I hope that helps, and I'll see you for clue 8.